All right, today on The Explainer, we are digging into a case that is just incredibly haunting and frustratingly unsolved: the disappearance of Lauren Spierer.
I mean, this really is the chilling question at the heart of this whole mystery. Think about it. In an age where we've got cameras and phones everywhere, how does a 20-year-old student just disappear from a busy college town street, leaving behind literally nothing? And to really get a handle on this case, we've got to talk about the person at the center of it. Lauren Spierer wasn't just a name in a headline. She was this vibrant young woman from New York, studying fashion at Indiana University, with her whole life mapped out in front of her. So, to even try and figure out what could have possibly happened, investigators had to piece together this really fragmented and honestly contradictory timeline of Lauren's last known hours on June 3rd, 2011.
Yeah, Lauren was, by all accounts, just full of life, social, energetic, really embracing that college independence. And on this night, she was doing what so many students do, just out, having a good time with her friends, kicking off the summer.
Okay, so this timeline, this is where things start to take a really sharp turn, and you gotta pay attention to the details here. After she leaves the bar, her phone and shoes are left behind. That tells you she probably thought she was coming right back, right? But she never does. And that last sighting at 4:30 a.m., wow, that is just bone-chilling. She was only a few blocks from her own apartment, walking totally alone and barefoot. So you can imagine, as the sun came up and Lauren still wasn't home, panic started to set in. And what came next was one of the biggest search operations in Indiana's history. No exaggeration. I mean, the scale of this was just enormous. You had local police, the FBI, hundreds and hundreds of volunteers all mobilizing. They were combing through everything: forests, lakes, empty buildings. The whole community was on edge. And tips, thousands of them, were just pouring in for weeks, months, and even years. And yet, for all that effort, absolutely nothing. The search came up completely empty. None of Lauren's things were ever found. Not her phone, not her keys, no clothing. It was like she just evaporated. With zero physical evidence to go on, the investigation, of course, turned to the last people who saw her alive. Her friends, Corey Rossman, Mike Beth, and Jay Rosenbaum, were all questioned over and over again. But, and this is a huge but, despite all the public suspicion and some pretty big inconsistencies in their stories, no one was ever officially named a suspect. No one was ever charged. So what happens when you have no evidence and what feels like a wall of silence? Well, the case just goes cold. It turns into this collection of theories, each one more frustrating than the last. Basically, the investigation split down two main paths. On one hand, you have the tragic theory of an accidental death. Look, Lauren was clearly very intoxicated. Is it possible she wandered off, got hurt, and couldn't get help? It's a possibility. But then you have the other path, foul play. The complete and total lack of any trace of her. That points to something much darker. An abduction, maybe by someone who is terrifyingly good at covering their tracks. Then there's this third theory, which kind of tries to connect the dots between an accident and foul play. The idea is that maybe an accident did happen, perhaps an overdose, or she fell, but the people she was with panicked. And instead of calling 911, they made the terrible decision to cover it up. And that really shows you how silence, whether it comes from fear or from guilt, can just become this permanent wall blocking the truth. So here we are, more than a decade later. And the fact that there are still no answers has left this deep, lasting scar on Lauren's family, her friends, and really the entire community of Bloomington. Lauren's parents, Robert and Charlene, they have been just tireless advocates. They absolutely refuse to let their daughter's story be forgotten. They've described their pain as a wound that never heals. And that just perfectly captures the special kind of torture that comes with not knowing what happened to someone you love, this permanent state of limbo. And Lauren's story has really become this tragic symbol, a touchstone for conversations about campus safety, and just how vulnerable we can all be. It's a terrifying reminder of how quickly that feeling of safety can just dissolve. And it's a powerful example of how the silence of just one or two people can deny a family justice and closure, forever. And so the case remains just a story without an ending, only these haunting echoes. But the hope is still there. The hope that one day, someone will finally break their silence and give Lauren Spierer and her family the answers they have been so cruelly denied for so, so long.